We're taking a look at our third arithmetic method, which is multiplication. This one here is huge within our course. We do a lot of multiplication and division, and these ones are really big to learn and understand, especially if you know your multiplication. Knowing that, being able to pull that out from the top of your head is going to allow you to make so much more headway in this math course. There's going to be situations, especially with multiplication, where you're not going to be able to pull out your calculator because it's not going to give you the answer right away. It's not just multiplying these numbers, but knowing what multiplies to these numbers and things like that. So it's going to really help. So again, really work on memorizing these. If you can stick it inside your brain, especially your 1 to 12 times table, that's really going to make a difference in your success levels. Now, let's take a look at a problem with this multiplication, and I'm going to do it that left to right method, but again, it works the exact same in this case if you did it right to left versus the left to right. So I got 584 times, remembering that that is times, or multiply, by 123. We're using that dot there because we don't want to use the x. We use the x. The x makes things confusing with the x's we're going to be using later in some of our algebraic equations. So stacking these up, 584, 123, we're multiplying those. So I'm going to do this, breaking it up into steps. I got 584 times 100. Anything times 100, we just tack on a couple of zeros. So 584. And then we put the 2 zeros in the end, so 58,400. Then I'm going to take 584 and I'm going to multiply it by 20. So we're just doubling everything. So double 500 is 1,000, double 8 is 160, and double 4 is 8. So we got 1,168. 1,168. But it was a 20, so we got to tack that 0 on the end there. So 11,680. And then the third one, a little more of a challenge here, but still definitely doable. We're going to multiply by the 3. And the 3 makes it just a little bit bigger numbers. And so we can still do it though. 5 times 3 is 15, so we get 1,500. And then 3 times 8 here is going to give us 24 or 240. So we got 1,500 plus 240, that's going to be 1,740. And then the 4 times 3 is 12, so we had 1,740 plus 12, so that's going to give us 1,752. And notice while I'm doing that, I'm stacking up all my numbers. Why? Because that's then going to be all added together. So we're going to add it together. And if we did this the regular way, where you were going from right to left, you would have got the same numbers, just in the reverse order. Now, these are bigger numbers. You might not want to have to carry all this in your head, so doing this as a written notation might be easier. Again, on the big numbers. Small numbers you should definitely be able to do in your head. 2-digit numbers, things like that. So add these up, and we got a 2, we got a 3, we got a 8, we got an 11, and we have a 7. So we got 71,832 as a result here. And again, whether you go left to right or right to left with multiplication, you're going to get the same result. Again, I just find it's easier if you can do it in your head going this way. And the more you do it in your head, the more effective you're going to be. Now for something a little crazy with our multiplication. Like I said, you should really work on knowing this multiplication chart. You should be able to multiply numbers from 1 to 12 with no problem, recognizing perfect squares out of here. And just be able to quickly recall these, because it's going to make everything easier. We're going to use these numbers a lot. We're going to be taking a look at the results and figuring out, okay, what 2 numbers multiply to get these different numbers? You know, what 2 numbers multiply to get 30? Things like that. So make sure you really understand this table, and that's going to make everything you're going to do so much easier. So I'm just going to speed this up, but I'm going to go through and I'm going to fill out the entire chart. This is something you should do on a regular basis, just to kind of make those connections, and then use that as a practice. You know, get someone to recite out, 5 times 5 is 25, and 6 times 4 is 24, 9 times 3 is 27. And if you can kind of pull those numbers out and quickly recite those, then you're going to just be so much more effective at what we're doing here. So here we go. I'm going to speed this up and fill out this chart. All right, so there's a table filled out. And there's a couple key things on here that you should really work on learning and memorizing. Notice some of the patterns that kind of work their way out, like 132, 132, 120, 120, 108, 110, 110, 108. So there's a lot of numbers that are repeating, right? Because it's 11 times 12 or it's 12 times 11. Regardless of which way you go about those, you're going to get the same result. So multiplication is, reversible. You can do 2 times 3 and get 6, or you can get 3 times 2 and get 6. So really you can draw a line down the middle of this and you have a mirror image on either side. Now, on top of that, there's some key numbers here that are really important to learn in regards to perfect squares and squares. And so perfect squares, which is a number times itself. So something squared means we're multiplying a number by itself. And we'll kind of get into some of that in the next lesson. But here we have 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, and 144. Those are all the perfect squares from 1 to 12. 12 times 12 is 144, 4 times 4 is 16, 8 times 8 is 64, 10 times 10 is 100, so on and so forth. All those numbers are just the same number multiplied by itself. Again, I really recommend taking this, learning it, filling it in, mix up these numbers, instead of doing 1 to 12, do, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and change the order up and see if you can do it without following these patterns, because it'll make it a lot more of an effective tool to learn with.